Hi, I'm Tony Liebert. I'm here to talk about communication, creating better communication within your teams. We use small area games to create communication on our team, and one of the things I like to do is use games that I got through USA Hockey to help the kids learn how to talk to each other and have proper boundaries for communicating within the game. Now, as a coach who's been around a long time, we've spent 38 years, my brother and I, trying to get kids to talk together on the ice, and we've done the same thing so many coaches have before us. And there were teams that got the communication down and understood how important it was, and there were teams that didn't. It was always hit or miss. So we've turned to using games to create better communication and to actually work on creating communication within our practices. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is where we start with this. And at the USA Hockey level, a lot of them will like to start with one-on-one games, and they'll set up mini nets at the squirt of the peewee level across the ice from each other so that you're playing through the middle, and you'll have two games going at once. And you can have one-on-ones, or you can have, in our case, we did two-on-twos. Now this year I'm coaching a peewee U12 team in Middleton, Wisconsin. So we had orange, yellow, and red, and blue. And we have 12 players, so we had 4 teams of 3, which means each team had an extra player in the 2-on-2. So we had our extra players right out here, and we played our cross-ice game for 4 minutes. They changed on the fly. So for the first 4 minutes, we play 2-on-2 with players changing on the fly, and we play 4 continuous minutes, and we have coaches counting the goals. When we're finished with those 4 minutes, we're finished with the first half of our first game. As we finish that first half of our game, we ask all the reds to gather together, all of the blues to gather together, all of the oranges, and all of the yellows. We ask those teams to talk to each other about how to be more competitive or how to defend better. So in other words, if they have a player they feel is a weakness in the other group, how to attack that weakness and how to understand what options they have available, how they can take advantage of the other team. We ask the other team to do the same. And then we go back and we play for 4 more minutes. The first time we did this, the first time I've done this as a coach, it didn't go perfect, but it takes a little bit of time. You have to be patient. As a coach, you're going to want to interject. Try not to. You want to make sure that you're allowing the players to play the game and allow them to figure out how to communicate with each other. As the play goes on, we come back for our second 4-minute half. So the first half is 4 minutes. The second half is 4 minutes. They've now got 8 minutes of hockey in down here, and that 8 minutes of hockey has given them a good idea of what they're capable of doing against the other team. Now we're going to switch teams, and I'm going to have my orange team play the blue team, and my red team plays the yellow team. So now I'm going to ask my oranges and my reds to get together and discuss what they did that was successful against the other team. So the reds are going to take a minute to tell the oranges how to beat the blue team, and the oranges are going to take a minute and tell the reds how to beat the yellow team. We're going to do the same thing with the other 2 groups. Giving the kids a chance to communicate on where they can take advantage of the other team, or where I feel you can take advantage of the other team, allows them to start communicating in the way we want them to on the bench. When they come back between shifts, we want them to have the ability to say, hey, the next time we're on a face-off against these guys, we want to be able to go here or there, whatever seemed to be working the best for them. So we want to start creating that kind of communication. After we finished with the 2-on-2, we went to 3-on-3, and we did the 3-on-3 with the same pattern. And then I did 3-on-3 where we moved the nets. And we had 2 live nets with goaltenders here and here, and we had 2 mini nets here and here. And we played 3-on-3 in these directions. And that 3-on-3 was for 4 full minutes. There was no break for anybody. So it's stressful for the players. Now this is U12, so you have 11 and 12-year-olds. Some of them don't always pressure themselves to work hard all the way. Some of them really put it out there up front and then kind of slow down as the game goes on. But after 4 minutes, they get to talk. And what we saw, and this is really interesting, was we saw teams deciding that they were going to have a defender back here and 2 forwards going up the ice. And some teams would attack real aggressively all 3 players and then try to spread out right away. But we saw different tactics for all 4 groups the first night. The second night, those tactics had changed where we almost always had a defensive player back, And then as soon as we got the puck, instead of playing through this mess in the middle, we started to play to the outside to attack the other net and get around the defenses. And again, this was across the groups. So 4 groups, 12 kids, very different players, coaches not interfering or talking to them about how to make these decisions, but them making these decisions on their own. I was pretty happy with it because through the first 2-on-2, we didn't see a lot of movement away from the middle of the ice. They didn't really spread the ice out. They would get to the other opposing net and they would pass across the Royal Road, but we would often see that play coming right through the middle and kids bumping into each other. After this, we go back to our games, and in the following weekend, during games, we allow the kids to take over 1 shift each period. So not a shift each period, but the period break, and it's their turn to talk about what they can do. So we simply started that by putting the defenseman on one end and asking the defenseman, hey, what do you need to do to be successful this next period? You guys talk amongst yourselves. And we asked the forwards, what do you need to do to be successful? You talk amongst yourselves. And to create more communication, right away we saw the kids taking autonomy and starting to make decisions for each other, help each other through the decision-making process to play better hockey. It's not perfect, but I will say, now that we're 3 weeks into this process, I am consistently seeing a team and hearing a team talk more on the ice, speak more intelligently on the bench, and more able to be accepting of their own awareness of their inability or ability to play the game. So when a kid comes back and says, hey, you didn't do that well, they're perfectly willing to say, you know what, I got it. I'm good at that. I can get there. But 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, if a kid had come back and said to another player, I didn't think you did that well, it might have been an issue on the bench. It might have been harder emotionally for them to understand it. So I think communicating within the game, learning how to play against others by communicating well together, and learning how to commit to that by being able to communicate to the next group of players has allowed our players to be a more communicative group. Thanks again. My name's Tony Liebert. Have a great day.